I don't know that it's going to be any like wild out of control thing, except for like the absolute premier athletes. Like if you go back to like when Austin Rivers was in high school, like he was huge. Like he had a national presence. He absolutely could have cashed in at probably a pretty good level, with endorsement money and various things that because of the persona he had at the high school level. And I'm sure there's going to be some athletes that fit that profile. But it's probably going to be a minority. I mean, this doesn't mean the floodgates open to third string tackles at Lake Howell.
Yeah, they are going to decide if kids as young as 14 or 15 could soon start monetizing their name, image, and likeness, just like college athletes now do. News 6's
That's
Treasurer.
Dan LaForest, the wealth advisor privy to the ins and outs of NIL.
Do you think high schoolers should have access to this?
I look at it as a great business lesson for a lot of these young people.
What concerns do you think some parents may have about this?
I think the biggest concerns they need to be aware of are understanding what the rules are with the FHSAA, because they don't want to get caught up in a situation where it could cost their child the ability to participate.
LaForest says the board's bylaws list penalties. One of them would make players ineligible for NIL deals for the duration of their time in high school. He suggests interested players and parents create a plan for how they'll take advantage of brand deals and ensure any legal document is reviewed by an attorney.
You love basketball.
I do.
Yeah. And you love watching her play basketball.
Most definitely. She's amazing.
Alrighty. Now that was
what was the last part for? It was like I thought it was going to keep going.
I did. I cut it. I cut it off. And the only reason why I left it on is because I'm. Oh man, let me that. It's because I'm pretty sure that's she's of some relation to Dale Murphy. She's a Murphy, and she goes to Lake Mary. So I'm like 98% sure, and I had every intention of messaging him beforehand, because apparently like the news went on to say like she's a star and this and that. I haven't gotten into what she's done yet, but anyhow, like she's going to be one of the first ones in line theoretically for this NIL NIL deal. So that's why they interviewed her and things of that nature. So especially with women's basketball on the rise now. This is very interesting. I did a little bit more research. So I think they said 30 other states
already have this.
Okay. So that's interesting. I didn't know so many other states were on board with this, and I think it's cool. I don't have a strong take on it because I think it's cool. I think it's for players to be able to make money off of their image and likeness. But I don't think there's a ton of high schools that really, man, maybe I'm misplaced on this, but I don't think there's a ton of high schools that really make a ton of money off of their high school athletes. Is that
high schools don't really know? No. I don't think so.
So,
but that's the thing. Okay, like so. This is now a legal thing, but like, again, where does it go and where does it come from? Where's this money coming and who's it going to? And so, the college which did this, what you have there is you have, for the most part, like big money programs with boosters. They basically like create collectives and sign athletes to the school collective, for certain terms to, make a few appearances, do this or that, and you get X amount of dollars for basically playing for Florida State or playing for Alabama or playing for Miami. And that's where a lot of the money's coming from. Then there's outside money where the school may partner with, a local commercial business, and maybe that, through that they're able to have an arrangement where, players get use of a car or something from the local Ford dealer, whatever the case might be. And then there's what I thought like the original name, image, and likeness is that if a college level player, and this would go to high school level, like genuinely has a degree of celebrity where they become a viable endorser of products on their own, then that player can capitalize on that. They could sign a deal with Nike, with Under Armour or whoever, and actually be an endorser and have an endorsement deal. and that's all well and good. The other kind of piece of this that you see is basically like athletes doing kind of their own merch. They'll sell shirts and hoodies and whatever, branded in something connected to them, and maybe make a few dollars. I don't know how strong an income that is, but so those are basically the avenues. Now let's translate that. Like, how many high schools, have people that are going to willing to shell out money, to kind of direct players to play at a high school. Now you may have that at some private schools. They may have it where they're like, hey, well, whatever. We got, these two kids play AAU with my son, and I know them pretty well. It's like I'm just gonna, pay their tuition and give them a use of a car or whatever, so that they're playing for Trinity Prep or Lake Highland Prep or whatever the case might be. You may see some of that. I'm sure that there will be some people that go that direction. But like, and then maybe kids will feel free to kind of maybe market or do some social media stuff to bring money in if they can. I don't know that it's going to be any like wild out of control thing, except for like the absolute premier athletes. Like if you go back to like when Austin Rivers was in high school, like he was huge. Like he had a national presence. He absolutely could have cashed in at probably a pretty good level, with endorsement money and various things that because of the persona he had at the high school level. And I'm sure there's going to be some athletes that fit that profile. But, it's probably going to be a minority. I mean, this doesn't mean the floodgates open to, third-string tackles at Lake Howell.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of casual people think, and I'll be shocked if it turns into that. I just don't. Yeah. I just don't believe so. And Austin Rivers, the whole package, the whole storm that doesn't grow on trees, like the Tebows and the Rivers and some of the high school superstars that we've seen and come across in our time. Those it's once every 10 years or so. I couldn't tell you like the last high school athlete that really, because what happens is what I believe too is like a high school star, like a star, they could be big within that school and a certain parameter, if you will, within that community. But outside of that, I mean, a lot of times people don't know about them because I don't know. Like right now, I don't know any high school star in Central Florida area right now. I don't know any.
Well, if we're looking in terms of like the local high schools, probably not. But like let's look at a guy that probably would have made a bunch of money this year if he could have. Cooper Flagg.
Yeah,
he had a big national profile. And again, there are high schools, in basketball in particular, that played national schedules.
Yeah.
And in doing that, they're on ESPN a handful of times. They do have a bit of like a national footprint that's more than just my local community. And so there's probably going to be some opportunities for guys that operate at that level. And I don't know if you follow it or not, but like on the high school football side, ESPN televises like a number of games of sort of high-profile
They
teams.
do. I don't mean zero, though. I don't mean zero. I'm talking about, like I said, Tebow, Austin Rivers. Cooper Flagg is a good one. Like, there are going to be plenty of high school athletes that are going to get some level of NIL. I'm talking about the cream of the crop.
Well, I mean, Cooper stands out because he had a big national name.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, there's a couple high school, like, not necessarily they were in Florida, but like I think that like some of the quarterbacks as they kind of come up through the ranks.
Yeah.
There's that Underwood guy that's committed to LSU. I think he's got a name, it's developing, it's out there. He could probably funnel that into something. Any of the really high guys. There was that guy, he flipped around from like Georgia to Nebraska, Raiola. He was a 5-star quarterback. I think some of those guys have a chance to kind of carve out some money and have a real presence. And I guess we can't underestimate like the monetizing of social media too for some of these guys.
Yeah. They'll be able to monetize.
I mean, here's another one. Honestly, when he was in high school, Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a monster. I mean, he was in social media a lot. I mean, if it was available to him, he probably could have connected some stuff at that point for sure.
Yeah. Now, the second wave of this, there's just another side of the argument that I talked about it with you off air about high school athletes. They're saying that it's a great thing that they're allowing this because so many top athletes get discarded after, you know what I mean, and as an afterthought, and they just get used and abused and pushed to the side. And I just have absolutely no idea what people are talking about when it comes to that. I mean, because in any walk of life, and especially for high school athletes, it's either you can play or you can't play. If you can't play, you won't play. Like, we're not looking for, science majors and drum majors to come in and if they're not good, they won't be able to play. What, those guys just get pushed to the side and discarded? I don't understand. If you can play well, you're going to play. Now, if you get in and you're playing well and then you do some dumb stuff off the field, yeah, of course that's going to or not make the grades or whatever the case may be. But if you play high school sports and you're good, you're going to play, and then you're going to go to college. Or if you're really fucking good, you can go pro, depending on what sport you play. So I don't understand that argument.
Well, you can never forget that athletics is a pyramid. And it goes up to the top and it gets narrower and narrower. And there's people that fall off along the way all the time for various reasons. Some people, can't behave right. Some people, stop growing and whatever, they don't ever get to be what physically what some of their peers become. And I mean, there's just a lot of reasons for it. Some don't really develop, like they're good at a certain age, at a certain point, but as the game gets better, more sophisticated, and other guys put in more work, they kind of get caught and fall behind. And there's just so many reasons that happened. Now, one of the things that I would say, though, and again, it's already part of the sports culture, whether you're talking AAU basketball, club soccer, 7-on-7 football, there's already a mentality out there that kids are constantly trying to find the best opportunity for them. Let me go to this team. Let me try that and do that. Now, this will probably mean here in Florida there's going to be maybe a little bit of money connected to that. That, hey, nobody's going to think twice if they have the resources to say, hey, we'll throw this guy a couple grand to come over here or do this or do that for us. Again, I'm not sure where the money comes from and how much of it is there, but there will be some. There will be, especially early, because people will want to, think they could do something with this. There's a ton of people right now looking at this as an opportunity. Like, well, I can build a super team because I can round up some benefactors and get some kids to come because we'll pay them something. And that's that's gonna happen because people are gonna think it's gonna work. But as the athlete, you can't get lost in chasing short-term dollars for long-term development.
Yeah.
And not every. I mean, like I said, I started this by saying it's a pyramid. Not everybody's gonna get there. There's gonna be a select few that make it to the top of this thing and make a real money out of being an athlete, and the rest are gonna fall off the path at some point. But that development piece, and we talked a couple shows ago about how, really like the European development model for basketball people, probably it's showing to be a little bit more superior right now. They're developing a lot of talents, and they're getting these guys, and they're actually playing pro at 16, 17, 18 years old, and then they're coming to the U.S. to play in the NBA with, 1, 2, 3 years of professional experience, not college, not AAU. And to me, when you're in that setting, it's not about how much money they're making. They're pros. They're getting a contract. I'm sure it's not, not nothing. But it's all about, like, getting your level up to, I'm 16, I'm 17. They're playing me with grown men. I got to find my way and play and make an impact. And then it's like, okay, I've done that. Now the NBA's looking at me. Now I got to go there and prove that I can do that and get to the right level. And those kids are really honestly doing a better job, the ones that are coming here, than some of the other guys. And so, whatever your thing is, and I don't always agree with Gilbert Arenas, but a couple weeks back he was talking about NIL stuff with his son, and he's like, that doesn't matter to us, like that, getting a little bit of money right now, and for him, $100,000-$200,000, whatever, is not worth compromising my son's development, because he's a dog and he's going to get there, and we're not going to spend time chasing that little money, because we know where the big money is. And I agreed with him completely.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that when you're a young player, you've got to be driven not by brand, not by short-term dollars. You got to be driven by long-term development.
And unfortunately, it has to be in whatever financial situation you're in.
Yeah.
So, like, I know some people can listen to that and be like, "Oh, well, Gilbert is already rich and he's already whatever." But regardless of what financial situation you're in, that's if this is truly your thing and you truly want to be great and you truly want to get the big dollars that really matter, you know what I mean? That is the model that you have to follow there.
Yeah.
You know, you have to follow the model of greatness versus short-term dollars in those. And
there's an important thing though too. It's like again, I'm not gonna say that socioeconomics have no role in this because they do, but like one thing that we do like as a sporting culture is, you know, we do identify people. I mean, there's enough people at the grassroots level that want to win. That, you know, if there's a kid who can play or there's a kid who's got some physical tools, they're going to find him, they're going to get him trained up, they're going to put him on the team and give him a chance to do something.
Yeah.
You know, there's plenty of dudes that are just desperate to win and desperate to build a brand for their, you know, their AAU program or 7-on-7 program. So there's not a lot of kids that could play that aren't getting a chance to play purely on economics these days.
Yeah.
And so that's, you know, one of the things, and I know there's levels to it, and I'm not saying it is 100% point, but that's not as big a concern as, you know, you might think on the surface.